But you said something else baked into the premise of one of your questions. You said, well, aren't we provoking? Illinois governor says we're provoking actions that are unlawful. Why would the mere presence, just think about this for a second. If I put federal law enforcement and National Guard into a nice sleepy southern town, is anyone gonna riot?
Well, first of all, you've invented the riots. They haven't actually happened. There have been protests, and there should be, considering what you've been doing. But what do you mean if I put the troops, if I put the National Guard, you don't actually control things, Stephen Miller. Does he understand that? Is he just slipping there? Or is he revealing what he really believes? Like, I think that he thinks of himself as like Trump's creepy little Machiavelli or whatever. He's the bib fortuna to Trump's Jabba the Hutt. He thinks he's the brains of the operation. But you're supposed to, Stephen Miller, only tell yourself that late at night. You sneak into the bathroom or whatever, you look in the mirror and then you tell yourself that you're in charge, okay? You're awesome and everybody likes you and you're really handsome and all that too. That's what you're supposed to tell yourself to big yourself up. You're not supposed to say it on the news. Like, it's possible that Donald Trump won't see that and be turned off by Stephen Miller implying that he's the one calling the shots on the invasion in America. But we also know that Donald Trump already is not a big fan of Stephen Miller and calls him a weirdo, has made fun of him and all that. I wonder how fast Donald Trump will come down on him as Stephen Miller's britches become way too big for whatever the metaphor is in that particular case. But I think it's becoming more clear. JR, what do you think?
I think the term you're looking for is chicken with his head cut off.
Who said that? I don't remember actually.
But no, Stephen Miller he's stepping it here and there. It's when someone with this kind of maniacal quest for power and blood, and the deaths of his enemies, the way Stephen Miller acts, he starts flying off the handle when he thinks he's finally got something going here. Jesse Waters kisses his ass all the time on Fox News, and they try and act like he's some kind of normal human being, having his wife on to say he's some kind of. I didn't want to talk about that part. But Stephen Miller starts flying off the handle in thinking, I can say whatever I want. He doesn't mean to, but that's where the maniacal nature comes from. But last week he's talking about the plenary authority for Donald Trump to do whatever the hell he wants. He's thinking, my authority to do whatever I want. He slipped up here and talking about him then sending more folks. That's why he keeps putting his face in front of cameras, because I always ask myself that question. Why, in any kind of like working propaganda machine, would you put Stephen Miller's weird looking egghead ass in front of any cameras, along with JD Vance's obviously lying ass with his eyeliner and all the things that people, nobody respects these guys, but they keep seeing themselves in front of cameras because they have this quest for like, I've got to be the guy. No matter what people say about me, once they say it about me, I can punish them, and then there's no one left to say bad things about me. They're like really toxic children with too much power in their hands.
Yeah, they put him, and it's like Howard Lutnick or whatever. Like, they're not exactly sending their best in terms of like telepresence and all that. By the way, it just reminded me, has anybody heard from Dan Bongino?
I ask it all the time, bro.
6 weeks.
I ask it all the time. Dan Bongino is missing. No, Dan Bongino
gone. He might be in like Stephen Miller's basement or something. Like, where did he go? Anyway, with that said, let's turn to another aspect of this, because they're out there trying to convince everyone that sending the troops into different cities isn't actually making things worse, but people do think it's making things worse. You're seeing all these ICE kidnapping signs popping up in different cities, and the polls show that people are turning against this. And so there has to be a lot of attempted damage control. So let's turn now to Jim Jordan doing his version of it.
I want to ask you about a flood of videos that we're all seeing on social media showing immigration officers across the US using pretty aggressive tactics. There were countless more showing agents tackling people, pulling them from cars, shoving journalists, detaining US citizens, questioning their citizenship. Do you have any concerns as you see all this about how ICE and other immigration agencies are conducting themselves?
Well, we're going to look into the whole situation where you have these mayors who are.
No, are you going to look into the way that ICE
sanctuary
is
cities,
conducting
ICE-free zones, where they're being harassed by Antifa protesters who are wearing masks and doing all kinds of things, where I think threatening the.
So you'll only look into that side and not to make sure that federal law enforcement, federal.
I'm not familiar with the three. I think you gave 3 examples.
Well, those were just some.
But we'll
there are lots of them.
Okay, well, we're the Judiciary Committee. We have oversight over immigration policy. We'll look into all this. But I think the ICE agents are doing the Lord's work.
That's really, I said in our production meeting, like the ICE agents are doing the Lord's work is something that like a petty atheist would say to mock ICE and modern conservative Christianity. But he said it like seriously, yeah, when he was literally shown a video of them shooting a priest in the head with a pepper ball, slamming women down, crashing their cars into people, dragging kids out, smashing windows, broken glass, flying all over infants. And he says, yeah, this is the Lord's work. Like, come on, JR. Obviously I'm an atheist. Christianity doesn't need my defense, but I feel like they could do better than him as a spokesman. What do you think?
Yeah, he stutters through stuff, sees his lies. It's the same leaning on the Christianity thing that Donald Trump was then talking about making it to heaven. It's the basic standard, trying to convince folks who call themselves Christians. Well, he just said Lord's work. So that means all this atrocities that I'm seeing absolutely mean nothing. The murdering of folks means nothing. I mean, he said Lord's work. So maybe if a radical leftist lunatic says the Lord's work, maybe you guys will start believing the things they said. They understand the brain power here is to go, yo, he's saying horrible things, but as long as I have an off ramp of some excuse to be like, well, Jim Jordan's a Christian, despite the fact that Jim Jordan doesn't have any kind of connection to Christianity, knows nothing that he's talking about. He just says the Lord's work. That's why he kept stuttering and talking over her, because he knew that she had cornered him on his madness.
Yeah, no, that was really grotesque, and also unconvincing. Like that is not how you turn around these polls, including independents and even some Republicans that are seeing this and think it's absolutely grotesque. It's going to take a little bit more than that.
If you enjoyed that, make sure that you never miss another video by subscribing. And if you want a little more, consider hitting the join button and becoming an actual member. But you're probably wondering, why the hell would I do that, John? First off, calm down. The stakes in this are very, very low. But also, when you click the join button and you become a member, you get access to bonus content that I make every week, and it's a ton of fun. You get access to tons of custom emojis and more besides that. By the way, if you join at tier 3, you even get access to a monthly member hangout with myself and other awesome people, and we always have a great time. By the way, you'll get all that going forward, but you also unlock years of the back catalog. That is literally 100 or more bonus clips, top 10 lists, debates, and more. What are you waiting for? Click the join button below. Your support powers our show, and we couldn't do it without you. Or at the very least, I wouldn't really want to try. Viewers like you keep me here. So thank you in advance for joining.